Do you have an area of your life, maybe an interest or a passion that you want to become the absolute best at? Well, in this episode, what I'm doing is I'm giving you 4 simple steps to become an expert at anything. Stick around and check out the formula. Welcome to another episode of Leadership and Lifestyle Coaching with Ryan David. I'm Ryan David, and today I'm talking about 4 simple steps to become an expert at anything. And yes, I said simple. And these are actually simple and easy. Some things I give you are simple in terms of the concept, but they're not necessarily easy because we have to change something we've been doing for so long. But these 4 steps are absolutely easy enough for you to do. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, Ryan, if they're so easy, how come everybody's not an expert? And I want to quote the great Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was the great Tony Robbins' mentor. And Jim Rohn said, the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. Meaning they're easy to do, but it's really easy to not do them instead. So it comes down to discipline and obviously putting yourself forward to get those things and make those things happen. So these are simple and easy steps that you can do to apply to become an expert in any area of your life. Now, I consider myself an expert in the area of personal leadership and communication and building rapport and understanding human needs and a few aspects of relationships and understanding human behavior as a counselor. And this is the formula, if you will, that I use to become an expert in those areas. So I want to give you this formula, these 4 steps that I applied myself to become an expert in these specific areas of my life. So let's get right into them. The first step to becoming an expert at anything is to read, to absorb as much content as possible. Now, I know not many people in today's day and age would prefer to read over watching or listening to something. When I say read, what I mean is just absorb information. It's nothing like a good old-fashioned, reading things tangibly with a book. But even if it's listening to an audio book or listening to a podcast or watching an informative educational YouTube video in your area, absorb as much content as possible in the area that you're trying to become an expert at. You've got to become obsessed with absorbing and downloading and installing as much information as possible in this area if you want to become an expert. Now, this requires some self-discipline, meaning if you have some downtime or instead of scrolling on your phone, you think, well, I don't have time to read. Well, if you have time to scroll on your phone and scroll down your timeline in social media, that's time that you could spend actually reading. We can read on our phones now. We don't need a book per se. So read, absorb, soak in as much information as possible at all times. Become obsessed with the content, no matter how you get it. Like I say, video, doesn't matter, audio books, podcasts, reading books, reading articles online. Absorb as much information as you can about the area that you'd like to become an expert at. Now, you might be saying, well, Brian, with all the information out there on the internet, and there's more information available now than any time in history, with all the information out there to absorb on my topic, on the thing that I want to become an expert at, where do I start? And that brings me to number 2. Number 2 is listen to the experts. Pick the brains of the people who have already done, achieved, or accomplished, or mastered whatever it is that you want to become an expert at. With all the information out there coming from all different sources and you not knowing necessarily how credible those sources are, what you need to do is work backwards. Find the top experts in the area that you would like to become an expert at and learn from them. Pick their brains. Find out what information they recommend or they suggest. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Somebody out there has already done what you want to do. Find out who that person is and then pick their brain. Find out what mistakes they made, what they did to become successful or accomplish whatever they did or master their skill or their trade as quickly as they did or in whatever way they did. You've got to find out who's already done what you want to do and then copy or model that success. And Tony Robbins says success leaves clues, meaning whoever's successful at whatever you want to do, they've already left you a blueprint on how to do it. You just need to find out who those experts are, and then you need to also not only become obsessed with the content, but the content from those individuals. So this is where finding a mentor or a teacher or an expert in that field or in that area or who's already done that, that's where this comes into play. You've got to get yourself a mentor or a teacher or find out who an expert is already out there who's done what you want to do. Current experts are walking encyclopedias full of a plethora of knowledge and information that you can use to pertain to specifically whatever it is that you want to become an expert at. And you've got to use that resource. There's nothing like somebody else who's already went ahead of you and done it and showed you really the way and paved the path and gave you the blueprint, left you the model of success that includes the failures that they experience as well. One of the best ways to learn something is by experiencing it, doing it, and failing and learning from the mistakes that you made. But something better than that is to learn from somebody else's mistakes and how someone else failed. So if you don't have to fail yourself, don't, and learn from somebody else's failures. And experts out there, they failed, trust me, and they'll tell you all about it. You can learn so much about their failures and how their failures led to their successes, so you don't have to make the same mistakes that they did necessarily. Now, number 3 is after you've learned and found out and absorbed a bunch of information that's out there, from the experts, and you've learned about this information and you've really just gotten a plethora of knowledge, you've got to do number 3. And number 3 is you've got to live what you know. You've got to apply what you've learned to your everyday life. You've got to practice basically what you understand and what you know. You've got to put it into play. So number 3 is live what you know, practice, and do what you have learned. Practice and repetition is how you perfect your craft and become well-versed at anything that you do. So you take the information and the knowledge and the info that you've learned and you apply it to your everyday life, and then you learn from the experience of now applying that knowledge and putting it to practice. And that's what the beauty of practice is. Practice is the process of becoming better at whatever you're doing. You know, they say practice makes perfect, but I disagree with that. I've heard it once said that perfect practice makes perfect. So you can practice doing the wrong things all day long and you're not going to ever become perfect. So perfect practice makes perfect, but you know, perfection is really is an ill-advised goal. But the point is, you've got to practice whatever it is that you know so that you can learn from your own experiences and you can correct your own mistakes and apply the knowledge that you know to tool and tweak and make better and do better at whatever it is that you're now working towards with the knowledge you have. So you've got to put into play and put into practice whatever it is that you've learned and whatever it is that you know, because you can learn from everybody else's experiences. You can take information and knowledge from everybody else's experiences, but there's a unique aspect to it all, whereas that's how they applied to them. You want to get all that information, but ultimately at some point you've got to apply it to yourself. And that's number 3. Live what you know, live what you've learned, apply that knowledge to your everyday life, look at your own experiences, and practice what you know and what you learn and make it your own craft. And it's an ongoing process. You never stop learning, you never stop absorbing information, but you start to put it into play at some point in time, and that starts to snowball and starts to get better, and you start to fine-tune that craft, and you become to understanding, you get an understanding and you become familiar and comfortable with the application of this knowledge as it relates to and pertains to you and your own experiences. And that's what you start to fine tune, and you become your own master or your own expert at that area. And that's one of the biggest barriers for a lot of people to get started at doing anything well, is just getting started. But you don't have to be an expert to get started. And I would venture to say that nobody's an expert when they first start at something. You see, experts are created, experts are grown, they're built, they're not born necessarily. You've got to fine tune that craft, and there's no better teacher than experience. So you don't have to be an expert to get started, and you need to get out there and experience what this information is and how this information is and how it relates to you. You've got to learn from those experiences, because there's no better teacher than the experience of how you apply and the application of the knowledge and the information that you've researched and you've absorbed and you now understand on some level. Put that into practice and start to see how that works out and plays out in the form of experiences, and then you learn from those and you continue to grow. Speaking of teaching, step number 4, teach what you know and what you've learned and what you've experienced to others. You see, when we share what we know and what we've learned with other people, it does a couple of things. The first thing it does is not only do we anchor in the knowledge that we've learned already and we understand it on a deeper level by sharing it with others, it helps us anchor in what we already know even deeper. But the second thing it does is it leads to conversations about alternative perspectives or even more input or data from them. And so when other people learn or experience what it is that you know, they have their own perceptions and understandings and their own unique experiences. And what that does is it creates a dialogue and an opportunity for you to get feedback from them to further understand maybe what you already know in a different way or a deeper way. And so when you teach someone else and you share this information, it anchors in and it's repetition for you to reinforce and learn on a deeper level what you already know and anchor in that knowledge. But it also provides the opportunity for this dialogue and this opportunity for feedback to learn from what the other person's learning and understand it differently based on how they're understanding it, or you get feedback about the conversation, about the information. So teaching is great for a number of reasons, but those are 2 reasons right there why I think that absolutely once you learn something, you understand something, and you try something and you get some results, even on a small scale, to teach someone else or to share that with someone else, that's huge. So just to recap, 4 simple steps to become an expert at anything. First, read. Become obsessed and absorb as much information on the topic as you possibly can. Now 2, get that information, if you can, from an expert, someone who's already done what it is that you want to do. Number 3, live what you know. Live what you've learned. Put it into play, put it into practice. Live these things and apply the knowledge in the form of experience and learn from your experiences. And then number 4, teach someone else. Share what you've learned, share what you know, teach someone else what you're learning in terms of the particular thing that you're trying to be an expert at. Share that information with someone else and tell them how you've learned and what you've learned to that point. So teach someone else what you've learned. That's step number 4. So that's it for today. Go out, find some information, start your journey, apply these 4 steps, become an expert at whatever it is that you want to do. Do me a favor before you go. Obviously, if you enjoyed this content and you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel overall, consider subscribing. If you like this content and look forward to more strategies and techniques like this to improve the quality of your life, check out the rest of my videos, and I'd love it if you subscribe. But also, let me know in the comments below, what is it that you're trying to master? What area of your life are you trying to be an expert in? Let me know down below and connect with me down there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next episode. And remember, every single day is an opportunity. Take care. Welcome to another... There's a bug in here. Again. Well, in this episode, what I'm doing is I'm giving you six? Why did it get to 6? It was 4. What the hell's going on? What the source is, how credible... Every time I film, it seems that a fly shows up and it wants the spotlight. Kick rocks, Larry!